Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO and founder of Facebook, made an appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he made quite a stunning revelation regarding the Hunter Biden laptop story. Here, take a look.
Like, there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York Post.
Yeah, we have that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. Basically the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have, if something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. And for I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely...
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful.
Now, what you just heard was basically an admission that Facebook censored this story at the direction of the FBI, the federal government, the most powerful investigative law enforcement body of the federal government. That's what the F stands for in FBI, directed Facebook to be on the lookout for propaganda, be on the lookout for Russian disinformation, and directed them to make sure you couldn't see the story. Now, Zuckerberg's trying to make a distinction between how his company operated in this scenario versus Twitter. You know, Twitter, they just deleted the story. That's censorship. Not us. We let you share the story. It just got bumped down a little bit in the newsfeed. Do you like that passive voice, by the way? It got bumped down in the newsfeed. No, somebody bumped it down in the newsfeed. And in a way, this is actually worse than what Twitter did. I mean, you could see what Twitter was doing because you'd try to share the story and it would either get deleted or you'd get suspended. It was just right out in the open, transparent. What Facebook did was behind the scenes, behind the shroud of propriety. Oh, you can say whatever you want. We're just going to make sure nobody can hear you. And again, let's get back to the root of this. The FBI directed them to do this. The FBI let them know that they needed to be on the job to make sure that this story didn't get out. Because, you know, Russian disinformation, Russian propaganda. So do you buy Zuckerberg's story? Well, Miranda Devine, the reporter who should have won the Pulitzer Prize by breaking the Hunter Biden laptop story for the New York Post, she's not buying it at all. Here's what she said. Such BS. Facebook crucially was first to censor Hunter Biden laptop story the morning it was published, October 14th, 2020. Boy, that was just 3 weeks before the election, wasn't it? Andy Stone, Facebook communications manager, issued a statement via Twitter at 11:10 a.m. Stone used to work at a Dem super PAC and John Kerry for President campaign. And then Miranda Devine provides that tweet put out by Andy Stone that day. While I will intentionally not link to the New York Post, I want to be clear that this story is eligible to be fact-checked by Facebook's third-party fact-checking partners. In the meantime, we are reducing its distribution on our platform. Now, wait a minute. Didn't Mark Zuckerberg say that they were using those third-party fact-checkers because they didn't want to be in the business of saying what was true and what was false?
We also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false.
Yeah, that's what I thought he said. Well, isn't this his guy, his executive, actually literally deciding what is true or false by proclaiming that they're going to reduce the exposure of this story before it actually had a chance to be fact-checked? You add Zuckerberg's behavior in this case with all those Zuckbucks, I mean tens of millions of dollars that were poured into election precincts, only certain precincts, in certain states that would make a difference for Joe Biden in 2020. And one wonders how these are the same people who were so concerned about threats to our democracy. Hey, the threat is coming from inside the room.